Started. So I'm excited to introduce our special speaker tonight, brand new National Vice President Kimberly Woodruff. And Kimberly, I just want to say a little bit about her. Gosh, I have known her, I think, almost your whole 6 years that you've been doing Arvon, which is so cool. We just met a handful of times. So Kim started out in Beth Lomas's nation and then has since Blair Profit promoted to National Vice President, and then Kimberly promoted just a few months behind her. So she actually went Regional Vice President right at the 2-year mark, and then right at her 6-year mark went Nation. She has earned 5 AIT trips, and I am very confident that we will all be with her in Punta Cana at the Hard Rock this fall. And then she is married, lives in Lynchburg, Virginia. Her husband, Brendan, is in the military, so that's pretty awesome. And they have 2 amazing, sweet babies, Grant and Addison, who I got to spend a little time with and just get to love all over in Maui just a couple weeks ago. And I think we're all still wishing we were there. Carlita, I think, just got back. So lucky, got to spend a little extra time there. And that's my goal too, once my kids are off in their own adult world. So just 10 more years to go. Not wishing it away at all, but it'll be fun to spend a month in Maui every year. So anyway, so Kimberly, thanks so much for taking time to be on here with us this evening. And we're so excited to hear your story. Go ahead and take it away.
Hi, thank you, Anne. So good evening, everybody. I'm so honored to be sharing with you tonight. Thank you for hopping on, investing in yourself. Hopefully my prayer is something that I say tonight will touch your heart. Because as I was sitting here thinking over what could I possibly train, I had my iPad and my screensaver is actually, it says Woodruff Nation 2015, okay? And it was a picture in the sand that at the time, National Vice President Beth Lomas had sent me from Maui, and she had written that out, okay? And you know, not that I'm starting out on a bummer, but I saw that, and every single year it said Woodruff Nation 2015, then 2016 happened and I was a region, 2017 happened and I was a region. And so it could have served as demotivation, but what actually happened is this time last year, and this is why I wanted to train on this, I pulled out some things that I was learning, because 2018 was a big year for me. And it all started when I looked at that screen in 2017 and I said, you know what? I want to start over. I want a second chance. That's what I said. And I wrote down in my journal, the year of the second chance, okay? And that's what I've titled my training is, you know, sometimes some of us are super new. You're like 5 minutes into Arvon and you're like, I'm not starting over, I'm just starting. And that's okay. These same principles you can use. And some of you may be like me, how I felt last year, where you're like, I'm disappointed. I've had some disappointments. And you know what? I heard this tonight and it really touched my heart, that sometimes the biggest disappointments actually lead to the biggest appointments, okay? And I can attest that has been true in my story. I wish that I just had this glorious story, you know, but I promise you, some of those disappointments now, they're gold. They are the, you know, when I have been slammed into the rock of adversity, I felt like that's when the pearls came through in my business, you know? So I have tonight for my note takers, 5 lessons of starting over, okay? And the first lesson is the nitty-gritty one, okay? And this is deal thoroughly with any problems, okay? And so if you are new, you may say, I don't know if I have any problems yet. Here's the thing. We all bring stuff in when we start Arvon, and we all have some little things that we could work and tweak. Nobody's perfect, you know? And as I'm going through this, I can assure you, some of this, as I was writing, it felt, ugh, because I can assure you, I have not perfected this. But this is what I had to deal thoroughly with to start over and to start over well, okay? The first is I had to be consistent. I saw this pattern in my business where I would go full throttle and would be exhausted by summer, and then I would pick it back up for the fall, okay? And I could see this in my business, in my sponsoring. I looked at my numbers of sponsoring. I looked at my volume. Spring was huge. I got exhausted in my sponsoring. back to fall, volume was huge, but my sponsoring was not. And I did this cycle, okay? And so I said, I will be consistent. 15 minutes I will never not do 15 minutes a day of Arbonne, okay? It just, my consistency was missing, okay? My consistency in sponsoring, but my consistency in my personal development. Carlita actually taught me, she goes, like, schedule in your personal development like you schedule in working out. It's very important, because otherwise I'm that person who reads a whole book and then I won't read a book for the rest of the month, you know, and I don't know if anyone else can relate to that, but that's how, unfortunately, I do things. And so I had to get consistent. I also had to get better at all the different reach out methods. And I know we're all getting better at this, but I had to realize that, you know what, the internet wasn't going away, and I had to get better at things virtually. I had to get better at virtual events. I got an Instagram account, and I always joke, it is the truth. I had 28 followers. If you're sitting there and I'm like, oh, I don't have Instagram, or I'm bad at it, it's okay. I was the worst. I still am not, you know, some superstar at Instagram, but, you know, I had 28 followers, 4 of them were like my family. So that was not awesome. But I just said, this is something that is working, because it works in follow-up. And this is just how I used it. I did my in-person events and my virtual events, whether that be through Zoom or Facebook Lives and in personal groups. And as those people were watching and I was meeting them, I would just follow them on Instagram and they would follow me. And so, you know what? They were intrigued by Arbonne at that first touch, maybe on that virtual, but maybe they didn't, you know, be interested in the business that night, or the 30 Days to Healthy Living program, or whatever it was we were talking about. But they started to follow me on Instagram. And so they started to see how, wow, like, actually, I really did love that 30 Days to Healthy Living. And maybe 2-3 months of saving their money, they got that kit 3 months later. But it's because they kept seeing me. It was just another touch. And so then it also fed my consistency, though, because if I am posting, I have to be consistent, and I also have to be a little bit pleasantly persistent, okay? And so I just funneled them into one another with in-person events, virtual events, and also utilizing Instagram as a way to follow up, but also another connection, and to make relationships through Instagram. You really can continue those relationships. So I also had to realize that I cared way too much about what people thought about me. It's a terrible, terrible thing that I just own up to. Sometimes I just lose sleep over things I shouldn't be losing sleep over, or worry about it, or maybe I'm going to fail at this, or, you know, maybe I'll look silly when only 5 people like my post where I just, you know, express my heart about what I'm trying to accomplish this year. And so I just had to stop, because that story was not serving me. It wasn't serving my whys. It wasn't serving my family. And so I just had to stop it. I had to deal thoroughly with it.
She doesn't like not seeing my face.
Oh, all of us in this business, we are not competitors. We are co-laborers. And that was a big switch for me, that, like, so many times we feel as though we have to prove ourselves to one another. We're co-laborers in this. We are cheering each other on, and realizing that we're all in this together, and we truly are better together. There are certain skill sets, certain things that you guys are so much better at than I am. And I get to learn from you, and then vice versa. There's things that we all can bring to the table. So we're not competitors, we're co-laborers. And then the last thing that I had to deal thoroughly with was ownership versus stewardship. I was so like this, that I didn't have my hands open to receive. As I said, I would take those disappointments and I was like, this is my business, this is my business. And I almost took it to an extreme with the ownership versus being like, this is a gift God has given me and I'm here to share it and to be faithful in it. And that's that, you know, and not just being so consumed with the results right then. My kids, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Awana program, but they talk about planting seeds like that. You know, they learn about the apple seeds and all that. And they were telling in a note to the parents that, ownership versus stewardship. Yeah, sorry if that got cut off. So they were talking about how different cultures, the level of satisfaction, just overall life satisfaction, are from the areas of the world where they are an agriculture country. Okay. So the United States we're not agriculturally, inclined now. Okay. We're not mostly farmers anymore, but the countries where it is agriculture is their main source of income have the highest levels of satisfaction. And it's because they understand the principle of planting a seed, having time for it to germinate before it grows into the tree, which then has to do the fruit, which has this cycle. Okay. They get that. Here we are like, bam, where is my success, right? That's what we want. Give it to me. Where's my food? And we don't realize that there's a beautiful process that happens with being faithful and planting seeds. And so much of Arbonne is planting seeds. The second point is to refuse to grumble. I did not realize, so grumbling, it's a fun word, right? It's called an onomatopoeia, if you guys remember that from way back in school days, where the word sounds what it is, okay? Grumble, it kind of sounds like it, right? Okay, so the definition of grumble is a bad temper or mood that is typically done in a muted way. So it's not outright complaining, so we don't feel too bad about it, right? Because it's just kind of hidden, but it's little things that actually I personally believe are silent killers in our business is grumbling, because it's this underlying festering that affects our mind. And so much of Arbonne is mental, right? And so when we start to grumble, like, that didn't work, or she was kind of rude about that, or of course, the website's, going crazy on close night, I won't get those orders in time. What happens is it festers, and then we don't feel like reaching out to people. We don't feel like having that positive conversation with the person we were trying to, and it festers. So this is what I decided to do. I was gifted a 5-minute gratitude journal. I started out my mornings with gratitude, and I ended my day with gratitude, and I bookended, because so much of what happens in the day we can't really control, right? But the morning and the evening I could control, okay, with my attitude of gratitude. All right. John Maxwell says the greatest day in your life is when we take total responsibilities of our attitude, because then we grow up, right? And unfortunately, I'm 30 years old and I still am growing up because I have to watch my attitude, okay? I think we all do. We all can get into points where we just, get into some funky attitude, and just doing something very practical, like practicing gratitude. Let me check my time real quick. So there's a story, I shared it when I was going region. I struggled with not being as thankful as I should be. I'm just being totally honest. I was like, why am I not there yet? Why am I not there yet? And I heard this story, you guys may have, but it's the story of Corrie ten Boom. And she, if you don't know, she was during the time of World War II, and she was in one of the concentration camps. And her sister were in there together. And, it was actually towards the end. They had been through horrors, if you read her story, The Hiding Place. So she's already just feeling just so low, dejected, has no, to the point she says she had no purpose. And so they were assigned to a new bunker to sleep in at night. And she said, I thought it couldn't get any worse until the sleeping where they got moved to had fleas. And she said she didn't deny it. Like, she shook her fist at God and said, are you serious? Like, now I have fleas on top of everything else that I have endured and tried to live upright and faithful and everything. And now I have to endure fleas on top of it. Right. And so her sister, though, is like, you know what, let's just be thankful that we have somewhere to sleep. Let's try to be thankful, with what we have. And later on, she found out her sister ended up dying in the concentration camp, but she found out later, as she realized that a lot of the guards were no longer coming in. And so they had a lot more freedom in where they were sleeping because they weren't being bothered by the guards. And only afterwards did she find out the reason why is because the guards didn't want to go in there because of the fleas. And so those last few months that she was in the concentration camp, she said she actually had more freedom than she had all the time before, is because they were left alone because of the fleas. And I remember hearing that. And whether it's something in your business or whether it's something in your personal life, life. It touched my heart where I was like, you know what? I have no idea why these fleas, you know, whatever it may be, but looking on the other side, I can now say, oh, I was so thankful. It protected me from something that I shouldn't have had, or it taught me gratefulness for something that I wasn't appreciative before. And so that is something that I think is huge, is just really being thankful, because I can assure you there's probably some people in this world that would give their right arm for things that we complain about, right? So the third thing is to close the credibility gap. This is one that I had a hard time writing because I was, you know, I try to be authentic, and then you write stuff like this and you're like, ooh, man, this one's hard for me too. So I heard this in Maui. I love this quote. It says, your actions are so loud, I can't hear what you're saying. Isn't that true? That our actions really do speak so much louder than our words. You really are making daily deposits into your Arvon bank. What is your account statement saying? Okay. Is it like on nothing, or these daily deposits really do add up? You know, we say so much like, oh, I want to, you know, help people and all, you know, we say all these huge, big goal statements, but then I had to look at my heart and say, you know what, am I happy when everybody succeeds, or only people on my team when they succeed? That was a big like thing. I need to be just as happy for sideline sisters and their accomplishments than I do for my downline, right? Because I'm in the people business, and it shouldn't matter. I feel like if anybody in all of Arvon who I have learned this from, and it's not because she's on this call, it's Carlita. She helps whoever. It doesn't matter if they're on her, she goes everywhere. I'm like, she's traveling for sidelines. That's crazy, right? So yes, do you have the credibility gap in your business? Because I did. My goals, my dream board, what I was telling my family, my team, did not match my calendar. And that was a credibility gap. And I had to fix that. I had to fill it with in-person, virtual, and like I said before, follow up through Instagram. I just heard this. I thought it was very interesting. They did this study on the #1 show people recommend, watch, talk about, have the biggest connection globally. What they view Americans and global, they were the same answer. And you may be sitting there thinking like, oh, what show hits home the most for most people? You probably guessed it. It's actually the show Friends. I don't know if you guys, everyone's like, oh yeah, Friends, all right? I love that show. Whenever I've had a bad day, I'm like, I'm gonna go watch some Friends, right? So the reason why is because they said the theme song, everybody, that phrase kept coming, I'll be there for you. Right? That's what we all want. We all want people to be there for us through the thick and thin, the nasty, all that someone cares for us, even when we're not awesome, right? And that is something that I also, with the credibility, I had to be like, you know what? I'm going to be there for people. I'm going to show up for people, no matter if I'm, you know, had a bad month. If I'm going to be at the team meeting, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there, you know, at my best and at my events. And I'm going to be, you know, there for my team. That was something where I was like, you know, that is something that I needed to fix as well. The fourth thing is respect your current place, but don't get comfortable at your current place. So there's this quote, I don't even know, I don't know who said it, but I wrote it down in this journal when you know, this time last year. It says, even if you feel the place you're at right now is not your ultimate destination, decide to treat it with respect. It will often provide the training ground you need. And so that is something where I said, you know, we don't get comfortable. We've never arrived, right? In Arvon, we've never arrived. So that quote is true no matter what level you're at, consultant, NVP, okay? We've never arrived, and there's a level of respect that you have for what has been accomplished. Even if you're brand new, take such pride and respect that you're a consultant in the most incredible company that there is, and that you've taken a leap of faith when a lot of other people are too scared to step out of their comfort zone. You have, respect that, but don't get comfortable with it, and just keep moving forward, because I promise you it's going to be the training ground for what you do want, okay? And then the last point I have is aim for champion. So many times I aimed for a goal, aimed for a number, aimed for, you know, 10,000 for AM qual, AM for, but that was, you know, that. And instead I said, I'm aiming for champion because I have no right to be ordinary. And I have this was from the founder of the university I went to school at. He says, you have no right to be ordinary. You have been given capital that you need to invest. Aim for champion. And so that was my theme, was aim for champion. I was going to do my best. And if I did my best, I would attract other people who would do their best. I wasn't going to attract people who just wanted 10,000 because that's what I wanted. I was going to attract people who aimed for champion. And I have so many champions on my team. It's incredible how my eyes are open to the lid I was placing on my team because all I saw was a number. I didn't see champion. Now I've got champions, okay? You are not your title. So I know with all the people we have on this call that we've got some people that could feel insecure if they've maybe lost a title or the title is not what they wanted or someone on their team has maybe passed them or not. I promise you it doesn't matter. You are not your title. You are you. You have something to bring to the table and we need you in Arbonne. I promise you, you are not in Arbonne by chance. If there's anything I've learned, it is that. So focus on doing your absolute best because like I said, you will attract people who do their absolute best. And so the last thing I have is another quote. I love John Maxwell if you can't. If you can't tell, I quote him a lot, but change is inevitable, growth is optional. And so as I close out here, as I said, the beginning of 2018, I didn't know I was going to get national vice president. You know, I had that goal, but I did know that I was going to aim for my best. And I did know that I was going to aim for champion. I did know that I wasn't going to grumble anymore. And I did know that I was going to make those absolute changes that I had seen in my business where I had to recognize that I was lacking in some certain areas, you know, that I had to put to rest some things that kept sneaking up on me. And I had to say, you know what, this has got to stop. If I want change, I've got to stop this, because growth is optional. And I decided that I was going to grow. And that's what I challenge you guys to do. I know it's the beginning of the year. I challenge you to grow, to do your best, to aim for champion, and to put to rest the stuff and the stories in your head that just aren't serving you. So that's all I've got for tonight. I hope you guys were able to take a few nuggets, some practical, some mental, because that truly, those things I gave you really kind of ignited my 2018. So I hope it does for your 2019. So I love you guys. Bye. Do you want me to press leave or you want to say something?
I know somebody's probably going to come on here and close you because I'm kind of jumping in here, but I just want to tell you, I want to jump through this computer and hug you. You were amazing and you're such a gift. And I'm so grateful. You decided to aim for champion because you have capital. You are making a difference in your world, but you're going to make a difference in this company and you're going to touch lives. They're going to give a ripple effect that you won't even know until the day you get called home and you get to hear and see it. So thank you for doing what you do and for being who you are on this journey and being so sweet, humble, and vulnerable and real because you are getting blown up over here. And I just want to say you're awesome at being able to keep up with comments and unmuting and muting yourself and never skipping a beat at the same time. So I just love you. And I'm so grateful you decided to go to Nation so that I could get to know you because you're deep in our organization from me, but I feel you close in my heart because I've gotten to have time with you. So thank you. I love you. And
I love you, Carlita.
Hey.
You're like my girl.
Oh, I just want to pop on, Kim, and just say you are amazing. And I think one of my favorite comments that popped in was, you're an NVP GTC stage speaker. And I just have no doubt all of the 6 years, my biggest thing that I always think about you is like, you have just this quiet confidence about you. But then when you speak, you are just this amazing, like Carlita said, real authentic, like so many great nuggets and tips. And just sharing your journey has been, you gave me some goosebumps because you're just so wonderful.
Thank
you for being you and being so real and sharing with us tonight. I know so many, my goodness, I don't think, Carlita, that I've ever seen this many comments on one of our training calls. So make sure you take time to read through those. It's like, we've gotten blown up, but you're awesome, Kim. So happy for you and your sweet family and your